City divided no more.
Can you reiterate why you changed your vote?
I am not going to speak on that. I need to speak with her.
The future of immigration in Fort Myers decided.
Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilperson Merson.
Yes.
Councilperson Bond.
Yes.
Councilperson Brown.
Yes.
Councilperson Geraldo.
Yes.
Councilperson Watson.
Yes.
Councilperson Boucher.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
The unanimous vote causing an uproar. Concern now growing on what this partnership will bring.
Let's be realistic. You stop somebody and they don't speak English and they can't provide documentation, you're going to suspect maybe they're undocumented.
The dust settles after tonight's emergency council meeting, and Fox 4 was there to witness it all.
Thank you for joining us here on Fox 4 News. I'm senior reporter Ryan Kruger. The vote is in on immigration enforcement in Fort Myers. After a marathon meeting, the city council voted yes to working with ICE agents. We have team coverage from tonight's emergency city council meeting. First, senior reporter Caitlin Knapp breaks down how it all happened.
Ryan, some council members admitted there are still questions about the agreement despite voting yes. Now, that yes vote didn't come without one council member calling out the city attorney, claiming he failed them.
Motion carries.
After 3 hours, all council members voted yes on the memorandum of agreement with ICE, which will train some officers to perform immigration enforcement. This was a big flip from Monday, where 3 council members voted no.
Our vote was in concern to this because of the potential violation of the Fourth Amendment and the racial profiling. It wasn't that we are not in agreement of the city of Fort Myers Police Department collaborating with ICE.
After the vote, we spoke with Mayor Kevin Anderson, asking him about concerns of racial profiling being brought up.
This is not a green light to say, okay, go out there and racially profile people. No. Now, let's be realistic. You stop somebody and they don't speak English and they can't provide documentation, you're going to suspect maybe they're undocumented. That's not profiling. They did something to be stopped for to begin with.
In the meeting, the Fort Myers deputy police chief answered council's questions, but some were left up in the air, like what kind of training there will be for officers.
Chances are there's not as many ICE agents as there are Fort Myers police officers. That's why this agreement is so important.
Next to him at times was Fort Myers City Attorney Grant Alley. When asked if the agreement is something council has to approve, he said, quote, "It's very not clear."
I think that you should support the agreement and the cooperation with the...
So that's your advice as our attorney?
Yes.
Minutes before the vote, Councilwoman Darla Bonk, who previously voted no, said she has, quote, "grave concern over a, quote, significant dereliction on his part."
The silence Monday night placed each of us in jeopardy. You are paid handsomely to protect this council, and in this matter, you failed us.
So what's next? Well, it's not clear how many officers will be trained or exactly what that training even looks like, but Fox 4 is going to continue to push for those answers. Reporting in Fort Myers, Caitlin Knapp, Fox 4.
The unanimous vote at the emergency Fort Myers City Council meeting left many people disappointed when the council voted to add the new partnership between ICE and FMPD with training and enforcement. I'm your Fort Myers community correspondent Miyoshi Price, and because I work in this area every day, I sat in that room as people watched the vote go on. A few people wanted that agreement to move forward, and others were sad with the outcome.
For every single member to vote yes, it feels like a slap in the face.
Pamela Vasquez was in the meeting with many people she knew and some she didn't, hoping they would get enough no votes to stop the new partnership with FMPD and ICE. The vote was 7-0.
I'm scared about what this means for the immigrants in this community. I'm scared of what it means for people who don't look white enough.
The line to enter City Hall was out the door. The community showed up to have their voice heard. Peaceful protesters stood outside with their signs during the entire meeting, while others filled the council chambers. Cielo Centeno opposed the agreement and called the language too vague.
And I think it is purposely vague to allow little caveats and loopholes for racial profiling, for government overstep. And not only that, if you look in the agreement, we foot the bill. If an officer in this county gets sued for misconduct, we foot the bill.
But folks like Henry Jackson was pleased the vote was in his favor.
They came by their own free will, and they broke the law. Grant that they have families here, they've been working, but they're still not citizens, and they broke the law.
Moving forward, he suggested how the department should be held accountable.
They should have the body camera to make sure that we treat those people with the utmost respect.
In Fort Myers, Miyoshi Price, Fox 4.
After days of public outcry, the Fort Myers City Council has voted to approve the agreement between ICE and the city's police department. I'm Fort Myers community correspondent Stephen Pimpo. Council members said they had questions about the legal ramifications of this agreement. Some council members said they voted the way they did because that's what their constituents wanted. Other council members did not say why they chose to change their vote.
Well, I can understand their disapproval, but you have to remember, I'm elected by the residents in Ward 5. An overwhelming number of residents in Ward 5 support us working with ICE.
That was Councilmember Fred Burson's response when asked about the disappointment expressed by members of the crowd after the Fort Myers City Council unanimously voted to approve the agreement allowing the Fort Myers Police Department to participate in federal immigration enforcement.
And once I got the advice from the city attorney with that last question that I asked, he said we were on legal ground. I think we had no choice but to do that.
During public comment, many people spoke out in support of council members Darla Bonk, Terilyn Watson, and Diana Geraldo's decision to vote against the agreement Monday.
We want to make sure that we are not violating the Fourth Amendment and that racial profiling cannot occur. It affects. I have been in the place where I have been stopped, taken out of my car.
Racial profiling was one of the main issues brought up during public comment. The city attorney told the council that on its face, the agreement does not violate the Fourth Amendment and includes an anti-discrimination clause. Councilmember Watson said she had her questions answered prior to Friday's meeting, while Councilmember Bonk says she did not think the city attorney properly educated the council on the matter. As for Councilmember Geraldo,
can you reiterate why you changed your vote?
I am not going to speak on that.
In Fort Myers, Stephen Pimpo, Fox 4.
The Department of Homeland Security will revoke all legal protections for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans in the United States. This applies to over 500,000 people from these countries who entered the U.S. since October of 2022 under the Humanitarian Parole Program. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says that they will lose their legal status on April 24th, 30 days after the publication of the notice.
Online, Fox 4 is going in depth on all of the state's immigration news. We have it all compiled together for you, and we dug into the laws and agreements leaders are citing to get a fair and balanced perspective on all of this. Go to fox4now.com and click the Immigration Action section.
Tonight, nice and quiet. So here we are right now looking live from the Luminary Hotel, heading northbound, crossing over the Caloosahatchee River and the Caloosahatchee Bridge. So from the Luminary Hotel, temperatures right now, downtown Fort Myers, 60 degrees. Dew point, the measure of moisture in the air is in the upper 40s. And those winds, though, much lighter tonight out of the north around 6. Regardless of where you are, temperatures much cooler right now, 22 degrees cooler in Immokalee compared to this time 24 hours ago, 17 degrees cooler in LaBelle. Fort Myers, Sanibel, and Cape Coral all sitting about 9 degrees cooler compared to this time last evening. Already down to 50 degrees for Immokalee, 55 now in Moorhaven, 54 coming in for LaBelle. And most of us are going to be starting off tomorrow morning in the 40s, the coldest morning that we have felt in about 2 weeks. We'll talk more about just how long this cold snap sticks around next.
Ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
A Fort Myers man was arrested barricading himself inside his home. Thursday night, Lee County deputies received calls of a domestic disturbance near Gorthon Avenue. The suspect, 39-year-old Weston Allen Gardner, got into an altercation with another person, threatened to shoot them along with himself, and then went inside a bedroom and locked himself in. Gardner was arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a weapon by a convicted felon, and obstruction without violence. Northport police are searching for a missing 12-year-old. Lanaya Parla was last seen Friday afternoon around 4:30 on Killian Street. She was wearing a gray short-sleeved shirt and shorts. If you have any information on her whereabouts, you are asked to call Northport Police at 941-429-7300. Malasuski dedicated his time to the Cape Coral Police Volunteer Unit for 2 decades. I'm your Fox 4 community correspondent, Dominga Murray, and in his 22 years of service, he rose to the rank of sergeant.
We're an absolute family. The Police Volunteer Unit is such a big part of that family. Unfortunately, we lost Stanley.
Mercedes Simons works for Cape Coral Police and says Stanley will be incredibly missed.
He worked very hard here as a police volunteer for over 20 years of service. He had an extensive career here. He was first brought in because he wanted to be a part of the Marine Patrol. He was really excited about that.
Members of the Cape Coral Volunteer Unit help with background investigations, admin, emergencies on the water, and traffic flow. And chances are, if you've ever driven past an accident or local emergency, you've probably seen Stanley.
He brought a lot to the table. He was always really excited to come to work, brought a great attitude, was funny, but just having someone who's willing to stop, donate their time, and just be a part of giving back to the community is such a big deal.
If you want to express your condolences to his family, there's a link on our website to do so. That's fox4now.com. Reporting in Cape Coral, Dominga Murray, Fox 4.
We have an update from FDOT on the Little Pine Island Bridge project as crews continue to rebuild from Hurricane Ian. FDOT says construction crews have finished installing the slab beams and have now moved on to forming and tying the steel deck. On the docket for the rest of the month, pouring the approach slab on the east side of the bridge and then the concrete deck slab itself.
The new JC Park is under construction, but the city of Cape Coral is still missing $1.3 million from the concessionaires. I'm Cape Coral community correspondent Bella Line, and on March 18th, the city sent them this demand letter. Now, I spoke with some people who live near the park, and now that the park looks like this, there are some divided opinions on what the future park should look like. The $16 to $18 million renovation to JC Park is underway, but the city doesn't have all the funds yet. On Wednesday, I told you how the city sent this demand letter to the concessionaire company, The Reef. It says, quote, "The Reef Cape Coral LLC is in default of its contractual obligations, and that The Reef is past due on their $1.3 million that they owe the city. The Reef is under contract to sell refreshments and food at the park, but now that the city doesn't have their money, it's left some residents divided on what they would like to see for the future of the park. Some people, like Steve Wisman, who lives right across the street, says they don't mind having food and alcohol sold at the park.
I would love to see the boathouse come down here. It would be great because according to the plans, there's going to be dockage where people can pull up.
But people like Ann Birchtold, who's been using the park for years, says there are other places around Cape Coral that people can go get a cocktail.
When you look around the city, we have 47th Terrace, which has a lot of restaurants where people can go and enjoy food and a drink if that's what they want.
The letter from the city leaves many questions, but we do know that it says the city can terminate the agreement if they don't get the money by March 21st.
If they don't want to build it right away, I would put the utilities in, the plumbing, get ready for it. That way that can always be constructed later.
And the construction continues, but the future of exactly what the park will look like is now up in the air.
The fact that there's been so much delay in various aspects of this development and the contract raises a whole lot of questions.
The letter also says the Reef will now have to pay $50 for every additional day that they're late on payment. I've reached out to the Reef for comment, but haven't heard anything back yet. Reporting in Cape Coral, I'm Bella Line, Fox 4.
The $32 million emergency center is finally opening for Northport residents. I'm your Northport community correspondent, Victoria Quevedo, and I'll tell you what the Northport city manager says about the project.
Everyone appreciates good phone reception, but some neighbors in Ochopee say a new cell tower right here just isn't worth the trade-off. I'm Fox 4's Mahmoud Bennett, and I'll tell you why one business is fighting plans for a new phone tower in the Big Cypress National Preserve.